All right, so this tale begins, um, click, with my story. So I grew up in Michigan. I was a very shy, nerdy little Asian kid, and always felt a little bit like an outsider because we grew up in a pretty rural place. Not a lot of racial diversity there. So my dad brings home one day this funky little device, and hold on, there we go. It is the Apple II, and the first thing I say is, "Dad, I want to play games." And then he says, "It's 1980. There are no game companies." Chucks an AppleSoft manual at me, and then I proceed to teach myself how to program in BASIC. And so I start a long, illustrious career of playing games. And I used to obsess about these kind of games. They were RPGs or role-playing games, and you would spend hours crafting your alternative ego, your alternative personality. If you were a fighter, you were min-maxing your strength. You probably weren't the smartest tool in the shed, but then if you were a wizard, you had higher intelligence, and you'd map out all these fantasy career lives. And then one day I had the insight, how come we don't manage our real lives that way? And so I kind of started toying with the notion of gamification, or treating your real life like a game. And the thing that makes games work really well are statistics. You have stats and points for every action, every decision, everything you do in real time. You're getting feedback on it, and it tells you, are you advancing towards the goal or not, right? With that, I kind of fell into my next journey, which was in the world of mastering sort of physical self. And I tapped into this little group called the Quantified Self Guys. And we'd go to these meetups, and it was hilarious. It was basically bunch of geeky guys trying to figure out how they could be geekier than each other. They'd be strapping things on themselves, measuring, talking about all the things they would track, and it was quite interesting. It was a great way for a former engineer to think about things like fitness or exercise. And this actually inspired me to help put together a company called Basis, one of the very first wearable companies, and to this day, still pretty advanced. It does 24/7 heart rate as well as galvanic skin temperature, ambient temperature, motion. Intel acquired them, but it was with devices like this, I always thought, this is how we're going to master our bodies. And here's the funny part about it. It turns out that mastering your body fat actually has more to do with what you eat. So there's a saying that abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym, and it turns out to be true. So I kind of started thinking about what's a kind of different way to do it, and I ended up with sort of a whitelist approach. I try to basically every day standardize on no more than about 12 different foods, and that kind of worked. But it was more a notion of cutting things out. With that, I've been thinking a lot lately about what does a mental six-pack look like? What does a emotional six-pack? What's a spiritual six-pack look like? Does it follow the same process? Is it about purifying? Is it about focusing? Is it about cutting out the fluff, whatever that might be? And so that's sort of my latest experiment these days. The other thing that kind of took me on another journey was when I went to this place. It looks like Second Life, but in real life, and it is it is Burning Man. It is where you get to live out your alternative ego, your alternate persona, whether it be in tutus or furry animal onesies or whatever it happened to be, right? And you learn a lot of different states of perception and expand your viewpoints. The other thing that I kind of was inspired by was going to EDC, Electric Daisy Carnival, as I began a love affair with electronic dance music, spurred by Burning Man. And if you've ever been to EDC, this is an event that brings in 200,000 people, probably has revenues of over 150 million, production budget of 50 million. If you see the slide, these are literally 4-story tall LCD screens, July 4th caliber fireworks every 30 minutes. 50,000 people bouncing at the exact same beat, feeling the same thing right in front of Tiesto. In that moment, I think I kind of experienced the notion of ego death, or what it's like to lose yourself in a crowd of people. And that moment hit me that this is kind of like church, except instead of the preacher or the shaman, it's the DJ using newer tools of today. Instead of a didgeridoo or a pulpit or something else, they're setting the tempo, they're setting the tone that everybody taps into. And it was actually very powerful. And it made me realize why people go and crave these experiences, because at heart we're tribal beings. We're seeking this kind of communion through whatever technology is available today. This has had a kind of impact on me, as I've had this sort of question I've been wrestling with between science, which I've been trained in, as well as spirituality. I grew up in a very Christian religious family and could never kind of make the two resolve. I always thought, are they in harmony, are they in conflict? And this is what has been sort of my mission lately with a lot of the things I invest in today. So here are the key trends. We're going to have 10 billion mobile devices now by 2018, far more than the number of people in the world, multiple devices per person, each one with more computing power than the original computers that sent the Apollo mission to the moon. On top of that, computers are also going to attach to every device in your life, every refrigerator, appliance, your house, all the rooms. They will be connected to the cloud. We're going to have the Internet of Things, so to speak, which right now is this wonderful Cambrian explosion phase of sticking sensors onto everything and then connecting that shit to the cloud and see what sticks, right? Smart toilets, nest of furnaces, all sorts of things. And with that, what we're creating is this digital exhaust trail. Your life now leaves so much data behind that is a perfect data selfie of you. All the behaviors, all your interests, where you surf on the web, what you say, your word cloud in your chat threads, purchasing behavior. That is actually a better portrait of you than a biographer could write. Moving on. So I got to take a step back, and I always ask, why are we doing this? Why are we tracking things? Why quantify this? Where is this headed? What's the point? And the thing is, this is nothing new. Human beings, since the dawn of time, have been trying to design frameworks to explain all of this stuff. The cardinal question, why are we here? It's kind of funny because we also like to pay people money, other people, to interpret the signals for us. If you can't read the tea leaves, someone will be happy to tell you what they mean. And that's the world's second oldest profession. So we've got this multi-billion dollar market of self-help. Where does it actually get us? Well, I kind of think back, and as I look back, there have been a lot of forms of technology dating back from ancient days as well. Even things like psilocybin or things found in nature are an ancient form of technology for driving self-awareness, changing perspectives. We've since learned to refine and synthesize things in much, kind of effective formats. But what blows my mind is some of the most powerful tools were discovered millennia ago and have been sort of exploring a resurgence of interest. For example, with ayahuasca, a very powerful combination of DMT and MAO inhibitor found in natural vines and roots in the rainforest. The lessons I've learned so far from these things is Timothy Leary got it right. This whole notion of set and setting, it's not the what, it's not the tool. It's the with who, and why, and with what intention you bring to it. I would say the same thing about smartphones. People say smartphones are destroying society. We're all looking at our phones. But really, it's a tool for you. And I keep thinking, well, technology can drive you apart, or it can bring you closer together. It can make you more human. It's all about us. And so from the VC perspective, I want to share a bit about where's the dollars, where's the money in this? And I'm hoping to inspire you would-be entrepreneurs out there to jump into this field, because it is the very beginning of this whole Cambrian explosion. If in the 80s was the decade of bringing physical fitness awareness to the masses, the 2000s are about mental fitness. And I think next we're entering the era of sort of, if you will, emotional and spiritual fitness. So I kind of think one framework is this is just the natural evolution of the self-development industry, but it's technology plus old school wisdoms and ancient practices, sensors plus social networks, AI plus wisdom. Where we're headed with this, I'm a systems engineer by training, and the classic control loop is that you first observe something by sticking sensors on it. Once you can measure it, look at the data, see if you can analyze it, comprehend it, make sense out of it, then try to write back with feedback loops into the system to try to improve or tune it. And I think that's actually what's really going on here. Right now, we're in the phase of measuring everything. We've got big data, real-time analytics, we've got data exhaust. This screen shows basically a data portraiture of your entire existence. Everything you do, you buy, you think about, your interests, your messaging, your communications, etc. With that, you've got the tools now to build Quantified Self 2.0, and you can quantify your entire life. You can quantify love. Yes, you can. Look at Tinder, look at eHarmony, look at all these sorts of things. It's even hackable. Algorithmic matchmakers are probably in the future soon. You can quantify your home, all the different HVAC flows, where the time you spend in it, put enough microphones in the room, and you can actually record and figure out the words that your baby is learning in real time as he or she grows up. Quantified sports is already in play, quantified learning. I'd posit you can quantify creativity. You'll have quantified work, quantified parenting. Anything and everything can be and will be measured. In the meantime, we've also seen a resurgence of mindfulness and meditation. To me, it almost represents potentially a modern-day replacement for what religion or church used to provide. Apps like Headspace bring meditation to the masses in a much more palatable way and remove maybe perhaps the religious overtones it used to have. Even smart drugs are now re-entering vocabulary with body hackers like Tim Ferriss and Dave Asprey, looking at nootropic stacks, the racetams, personalized microdosing driven by AI. In some ways, I'm really curious to see what happens when you combine virtual reality with that. So that's another startup idea. Somebody's going to build net trips. It's like Netflix, but for visualizations. VR AR itself is fascinating to me. Everyone thinks it's about gaming and entertainment. I think this is going to actually enable machine-powered empathy. Instead of telling you or showing you, basically I'm saying, look, just feel it. Walk a mile in my shoes, and this is what it's going to be like. Most powerful demonstration I saw was an artist who simulated what it's like to be a schizophrenic paranoid because she was trying to understand why her sister committed suicide. Now, the dark side is, if it's so compelling, you might never take off the VR goggles. You might go fully virtual. You might go fully digital. By the way, to me, I think that might be one of the answers to Fermi's paradox. If you're in a sufficiently advanced alien species, why hang around in meat space? Let's go virtual. The transformative tech movement is really meaningful to me because of the convergence of all these different areas. You've got sensor tech, you've got data tech, genomics technology, chemical technologies, neurotech, cyber tech, as we start to hack our wetware, behavior tech using gamification, behavior design, and then sort of, for lack of a better term, spirit tech. That's the work from the inside, the meditation, yoga, therapy, all those sorts of things. There's a lot of trends here. I won't read through this, but basically, wearables are going all over. You're going to have hearables, seeables, ingestibles, expellables, implantables, thinkables. You're going to see those then track more and more data, and those wearables will start to not just read, but they'll be able to write back, so you'll be able to augment the system. As they get connected, we're going to have more and more kind of this movement of a collective consciousness, and you'll be able to interact with data streams, data sets from other people. Then you'll have not just body hacking, you'll have brain hacking, emotion hacking, mood hacking, all these sorts of things. These open up all sorts of business opportunities. We will enter this brave new world. You might have this rise of super-powered transhumanism, right? We could be moving towards this collective consciousness. In the process, if we're all networked, that could mean the death of privacy. Could be an interesting thing too. But the fearful part is, what if it creates a new cybernetic divide? Because obviously not everybody's going to have equal access to all these different technologies. Read Ramez Nam's Nexus trilogy, wonderful series. So if we're entrepreneurs out there, what I would suggest is, as this landscape evolves, know your different business model playbooks and then start to remix them. Do you want to be a component maker? Do you want to be a device maker? Do you want to sell gadgets? Or do you want to bundle those gadgets with coaching services and be a device as a service player? There's all different models you can use. Here's one hint I'll give you from the Basis experiment. Don't sell devices, sell device as a service, because ultimately software and the services will eclipse hardware. Hardware gets commoditized naturally, at best 1-2 year lead. Even the multiples on companies like Fitbit and GoPro are dropping by the week until they can show a recurring revenue stream through subscription services or other revenue streams they can add on. To that, I'm a big believer here that more than data, more than dashboards, coaching, concierge, by both humans and AI is what people really want. It's just like that tea-reading fortune teller we talked about. You need an expert system to help you interpret that data. Data by itself does not make you take action. The go-to-market channel dance, this is a fun one. I call it start with be to freak, go to makers, go to developers, give dev kits out there, see what all the people in the fringes, people go to Burning Man, see what they make. As emergent use cases pop up, productize those into direct-to-consumer offerings. As consumers adopt, self-insured employers, businesses, enterprises, they will want to pick up on it. And then the big holy grail of all is when the insurer and payer landscape picks up on it. That's when the size of the deals even dwarf the consumer revenue streams. But the ultimate playbook of all that I would tell you about is harnessing the power of story. Storytelling is key to our existence. It's the original viral idea container. It's the idea bomb. And what's funny is story always follows the same template, the so-called Joseph Campbell hero's journey. This is fun because it applies to every story from the Bible to Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark. It also applies to a startup because what you're trying to do is help people answer 3 burning questions. Who am I? Which character am I? What's my story? Number 2, who is my tribe? Who do I belong with? What are the others out there like? And then third, do I have something unique about my story? Do I have a particular superpower? If you help people figure that out, they will pay far more than buying just content or buying a device. One way I like to explain it is that, do you remember back in the day an MP3 was worth 0, but a ringtone for your phone, now that was worth $5. Why? One of them was a personal branding storytelling device. The other was content. Right? And when you help people figure out their superpower, I think what you're really doing is evolving humanity overall. Everybody has a superpower. It's unique, and done right, they're all different. They don't necessarily compete with each other. Design the player journey into your products and services. You're helping people achieve mastery over something. You can even build these with loops from onboarding to habit forming to mastery. Near-EAL and other gamification designers even have specific hooks and mechanics for designing engagement loops on getting people through this. The point of this, ultimately, you may have heard that old phrase, if a million monkeys banged out on a million typewriters for a million years, they'd create all the works of Shakespeare by accident. In the process, they would create every story. And that's the crux of Borges' story, The Library of Babel. Amazing, amazing tale. Basically says, if you had an infinite library of identical books and basically the contents of them read on one of the books, A, and the very last one, Z, all the way through, it would contain every possible story that could be in existence, every scenario, every simulation that could be run. And to me, what's really interesting is the most beautiful success stories begin with pain. Oysters basically create these pearls that are formed by awful irritants, really powerful irritants that don't kill them, but create these beautiful kind of coping mechanisms. That's really what the purpose, I think, of running all these simulations are. From the Big Bang, creating different kind of planets with different starting conditions, creating Cambrian sea, primordial sea combinations of all the genetics, all the different parts to see all the stories that can be run. If you take this in a startup format, that's called Y Combinator. It's every possible startup. Pinterest for blind people, Groupon for cats. They all seem like they're going to be stupid on the surface, but you never know. Every startup has a purpose and is an experiment that should be run because you never know which one's going to crawl out the sea and become the next Google. So ultimately, this is storytelling meets data, right? And where we're really headed towards is mankind merges with machine. And to me, I like to say God and us, the only difference, God is perfect data. So God, you might say, my definition is really globally omniscient data. It's the collection of all stories. It's the result of every simulation run. And so really that's kind of my challenge to you is please go hack, go make, go run all the experiments, share those stories because a collection of those stories is really our job to evolve, our species beyond just our regular wetware existence today. Thank you.